This is Diane Barrett. I'm here interviewing Cynthia Stewart, who's an IT projection manager. And this is August 16th, 2021. Thank you, Cynthia, for being here with us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So we'll just go through a few questions here today with our interview. The first one being, where were you born?
I was born in Indiana, raised on a dairy farm in a Quaker household. I was on the farm until the age of 19 when I got married. I was always worried that I would become an old maid. My mom was always worried that I would be an old maid because I was such a tomboy and I didn't date. So I married the first guy that asked me. I was raised Quaker. I, even at a very young age, couldn't buy into a lot of what they were selling.
What was your husband's occupation?
My husband was in the Army, and he got shipped over to Vietnam. And when he went to Vietnam, I went back to college. I dropped out to get married. When he came back, we were stationed in southeastern Alabama at Fort Rucker.
Did you have children in your marriage?
When he came back from Vietnam, I had a daughter, and she was born in Alabama. She just turned 50. My husband at the time got riffed out of the Army after Vietnam. There were too many chopper pilots, so they let a bunch of them go. He didn't have a college degree, so it was important to him because he couldn't get a job as a pilot anywhere or anything. So we moved to Daytona Beach so he could finish his degree, and I worked. And one summer he went out to California fighting fires to get some extra money over the summer, hooked up with Evergreen Helicopters out of McMinnville, Oregon. And they said they'd give him a job as a pilot if one opened. In the meantime, he could drive trucks. So he came back to to Florida, finished up. We loaded everything we had in a U-Haul and started the drive to McMinnville, Oregon. But we hit Denver on July 3rd, 1973, and there was no gasoline. And we holed up in a Howard Johnson trying to get 5 gallons at a time, but we were afraid we were going to get stranded somewhere in Wyoming. We were running out of money, so we stayed in Denver and got jobs. There was times when I wasn't quite sane. There was one time in Denver when it was just a time when the stress of being in the closet built up so bad that my husband said, something wrong with you, go get some therapy. I thought something was wrong with him, but no, it was probably wrong with me. So I went to therapy, and I knew what was eating me inside. And I mentioned something to the therapist, just a little clue. I said that I'd been having images and thoughts about other women. And she said, oh, that's normal, and blew it off. Just absolutely blew it off. And I just spiraled down. And I ended up being in a psychiatric hospital for about 3. I went in for 3 days just to get out of the bottom of the pit and get on some medication that would help me get out of the bottom of the pit, because I was pretty suicidal at that point. And I'd actually gone out and timed how long it would take me to run out on the highway from this point to when a big rig 18-wheeler would get there. And I had to time. I don't recall. It was so many seconds, and I knew I could get up and run out there in this many seconds. And when the truck got to here, that's when I would run out. The only thing that kept me from going through with it was the thought of my daughter being raised by my then husband, because he was not a good dad. My daughter was my daughter and the medication is probably what pulled me out of that spiral, because I I had fallen down this well so long, and you know how you see the light at the top of the well when you're falling, and the light was gone, and the light had been gone for so long, I didn't think it would ever come on again.
How about discussing briefly your educational background? Did you finish school when you were in Denver?
No, I hadn't finished my degree yet. That was a 10-year struggle as it turned out, but I was determined and I finally did get it. But he was working as a billing clerk for an oil company, and I got a job as a programmer because I'd had some computer courses in college. I had really wanted to be an astronaut, but that didn't work out when they put glasses on me at the age of 13. And then I said, okay, I'll be a veterinarian, being a farm girl. And when it came time to take the test to get into vet school, I had a diamond ring on my hand at that time, and they would not let me take the test. This was 1968. And they said, you'll get married, you'll have kids, you won't provide any economic return to the state of Indiana, so we're not even going to let you in vet school. So I said, okay, I got to do something, and talked with my counselor. And he said, well, pick your easiest course and get your degree in that. And I said, okay, math. I'll get a degree in math. So I got a degree in math, and I was taking computer courses just because I needed to do something. And that was really turned out to be one of the biggest strokes of luck I had in taking that course. So in Denver, I got the job programming, and we were there for several years. And my husband went and got a college girl pregnant, so we got divorced. And at that time, my dad was threatening to buy another farm and get me to move back to Indiana. I knew I did not want to go back to Indiana. So I married another guy. I mean, I knew at 12 I was gay, but with Quaker, that's one of the things you can't be. You can't get pregnant before you're married. You can't be gay. I was scared to death most of my young life that I was going to get shipped off to the Quaker Camp of Shame somewhere in North Dakota and never heard of again, and losing my whole family. So I stayed in the closet.
So let's talk a little bit about your coming out experience. What was the process? What was it like? Who did you meet? Where did you go?
Until I was 51. And it wasn't that I was having a relationship with any woman. It just became so unbearable. And I went out with a friend one night, and we had dinner. I was very attractive to her. And we had dinner and drinks. And at one point, I heard in the air, I heard the voice say, "Have you ever been with another woman?" It was my voice. I had gone all Thelma and Louise, and I thought my life was over. And she said, "Buy me a double Bloody Mary." And I went, "Waiter, waiter." So we had more drinks and went back to my hotel, and that was my first encounter with a woman. The next morning, she says, "Was it what you expected?" And I said, "Oh, yes." She says, well, "I'm still straight." I said, "That's okay. I'm out." I don't care. I just don't care now. So it was, 51. So I got divorced again. And
You mentioned your daughter. Have you had more children other than your daughter?
No, I did not. A lot of the reason I didn't have another one, I wanted another one, was in Denver. I started having a lot of strange physical symptoms that turned out to be multiple sclerosis. And doctor said it's probably not a good idea to get pregnant while this stuff is really, really active, because I was having a lot of trouble with my legs. I was having these focal point seizures and other stupid stuff. So I didn't, then divorce, I got divorced, and it's like, well, no, you probably better not get pregnant while you're divorced and got MS. I mean, it just didn't work out. So I didn't have any more. The MS started in Denver, and one of the things I knew I needed to do was get to a better climate, and did some research, and the best climate in the country for somebody with MS is San Diego. So my husband was able to find somebody that would hire both of us plus pay to move us to San Diego. Well, it was heaven. That was 1985. I didn't come out until 1999. So, but I became a consultant and went to work on the road because the jobs started drying up in the financial industry in San Diego. So for 12 years, I was a road warrior. So I didn't see my husband a lot. So it was airports and hotels. After I came out, a lot of people I thought were my friends no longer wanted anything to do with me. So that was, it wasn't a surprise. It was just disconcerting.
So you mentioned the woman that you had your first experience with. Did you, in your future time, reconnect with her?
She was straight. We're still friends, but never anything like that one encounter. Yeah, so no, I went out on a mission to try to find what the world was like. I had no role models. I didn't know anybody.
Did you find that your occupation was in any way threatened or limited by your sexuality? Were you aware of expressing your sexuality openly at work?
It was a shock to the company I was working for. The company was owned by 5 guys, and 3 of the guys were very, very Bible Belt religious and anti-gay, so they were not too happy to still have me in the company. The other 2 did because they were more liberal, plus I was generating a lot of money for the company, so so the bottom line matters, so they kept me around until I decided to leave. And it had been a couple years, and I met someone and thought that this was going to be the time to go home to San Diego. And I bought a house with her. I did not put her name on anything, though. I was still suspicious. And we were together 2 years. And the relationship was very parasitic. She was pretty much mostly attracted, I believe, to my bank account. So that ended. Yeah. She wanted me to buy her a boat and a BMW, and I always said no. No. And then some time passed, and I got into another relationship, and it lasted 17 years, and it ended. And so I'm single now. I've been single for about a month. It's very eerie. It's very eerie because I've moved in. My daughter took me in. Her and her boyfriend just welcomed me and pulled me in and hugged me and said, you can stay here as long as you want and get to see my grandson, which my previous relationship made it extraordinarily difficult to spend any time with my family. And my sister's in Sacramento. And my brother was in Indiana. He died in January from cancer. So my family is all here in the northern part of California. And now I'm right in the middle, and I get to watch this young boy grow up. It's just so dear to my heart. I can't even tell you what it's like now, the freedom to be here. Almost euphoric when I broke up with her. It was such a relief because I knew I could see my family anytime I wanted without the tug and the pull and just the dynamics of my partners. It was almost a jealousy of my relationship with my family because she did not have anything like that with her family. And so it's so important to make sure you retain your connections with your family, because it's not worth losing over anything. I wish I'd have left her 10 years ago, but I have now. So,
Have you experienced prejudice in your work regarding your work ethic or just your work performance in general?
I think there's been some in varying degrees over the years, and it had more to do with what they saw in me that I could bring to the company, my skill sets, and they would provide me more opportunities than some of the others. I got my work ethic on the farm. That was something that was just built in. For a farm family, the first kid that's born is supposed to be a boy because you need somebody to milk cows, work in the fields and all that. But it was me, it was a girl. And I remember when I was 4 years old, standing, looking up at my grandmother when she's on the phone with my dad, who had just taken mom to the hospital, had the second child. And afterwards, she hung the phone up and looked at me with that stern look that she has and said, it's another girl. They'll have to try again. They'll have to try again. And I was 4 years old. I was 4. And the electrons and neutrons started flying in my head. And I went, this is not making sense. This is telling me that I'm not good enough. This is telling me that I'm less because I don't have a pink, wrinkly thing between my legs. Why is that the Holy Grail? I don't know. So even at that young age, I decided that I'm going to show them that I'm as good as any boy. I'm going to be better than any boy at stuff. And I started working in the fields as a farmhand when I was 8, driving tractors and helping. My sister was 4 years younger and my brother was 8 years younger. So they finally got the boy, but it was going to be a while before he was going to get out in the field. So I drove tractors, pulled the baler and all that kind of stuff. And I worked hard in school. Like I said, I knew when I was 12 that I was gay, and like, I've got to get out of here. This is not going to be a good place for me. I didn't know how I was going to get out. But mom told me when I was in the 8th grade, because we were poor, we didn't have much money. And when the ministers from the church would come out and yell at mom because we weren't able to meet our 10% tithe, and mom would say, 10% of nothing is nothing, you guys. But she said, if you're going to go to college, you're going to have to work hard and get scholarships because that's the only way you're going to get there. We can't pay for it. So I buckled down. I got straight A's all the way through high school. I got 4 scholarships at the end when I graduated. So I had a free ride in the state college plus some more. And then there were 3 other scholarships. So that's how I made it through. I didn't finish there. I dropped out, like I said, when my husband went to Vietnam. I went back, and then we ended up in Denver, and I was working there. I went to school at night there at the University of Denver and transferred credits back to Purdue. So I ended up 10 years later, opened my screen door one day, and there between the door, there was a diploma. So I've finally got that, but it was the work ethic just stuck with me, and I was always one of the best at anything I tried. Remember sitting in tops of apple trees. We had a big orchard on one side of the house, and I'd sit up on the top of those apple trees and just dream about flying in the clouds and what I wanted to be and how I could get out of there, and wish I was a hawk or an eagle so I could fly. So I've always been self-motivated and self-driven, especially when the MS got to be problematic and I was traveling and to deal with that.
When did your diagnosis of multiple sclerosis become problematic?
To deal with that kind of stuff, like having to learn how to catheterize yourself when that's problematic. Okay, fine, I can do that. I gave myself injections every day. No, it became financially prohibitive, $3,000 a month. So, but the best thing that happened when I came out of the closet, shortly after the MS went into remission, I have not had the stress of being in the closet, I believe, triggered the MS when I was like 31. And when I came out of the closet, that stress was gone. I have not had a new exacerbation since I came out of the closet. I still have to deal with some of the old damage, but that's nothing compared to the unexpected stuff that MS can pull on you when it flares up. So, I leave a relationship that was the biggest stress, and I got rid of that. The other stress is I try to get out and do a lot of walking for the physical exercise and to keep my body in tune, because sometimes my feet and legs don't communicate that well with control center. So, or if I get really, really overheated, this eye decides it's not going to go at the same time this eye goes. So your vision's a little wonky, but I've learned to have a workaround for everything that MS has done, because I don't have time for it. It's not something that's going to slow me down. It hasn't so far since I came out in 1999. I think the remission, I could stamp it as somewhere in the year 2000. So it's the weirdest thing, because you know how you know something? I know that I know that I know it's not going to flare up again. I just, that's the way it's going to be.
If you were aware that you were going to die anytime soon, what would you like to be remembered for by your friends, your family, your associates?
Being warm and generous, and I don't know, that's a tough one. Fun to be with, playful. Legacy question. That I was fun to be around and fun to be with, and like to go do things, and I've done things. Yeah, I've been bungee jumping and skydiving and scuba diving. I rode a Kawasaki Ninja for about 10 years. Got it up to 120 mile an hour one time. That was a rush. So it was, and I think one of the pictures I sent you was a picture of my horse. I started asking for a horse when I was 5 years old. that was going to be my wings to get me away from the farm, because I knew we would never be able to afford me a car. That wouldn't happen. And when I finally got the horse, that was my wings. And that was the center of my life up until the time that I got married and the horse died while I was gone. I was Comet. He was about 16 hands tall, solid red, not a mark on him. Run like the wind. Yes, that was my greatest joy, and that probably kept me sane.
How about the next step? Are you focused? Are you dreaming? You sound like you're organizing yourself for another endeavor, another adventure.
You get a dream, and when that dream goes away, you got to find another dream. You just have to keep finding other dreams. And I'm looking for now, after coming out of this relationship, I'm looking for whatever that next dream is. And it's so, like I said, it's kind of eerie right now, living with my daughter. I've never lived in a house that wasn't, quote, my house ever before. So it's definitely different.
So Cynthia, it was a pleasure to meet you. I enjoyed listening to your story, your history, and I appreciate your participation in the collection. And I urge others to join you and to subscribe when you see this video online. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for doing it.